Well, another games company has effectively lied to us again. Don't we all love it when that happens and, well, the microtransactions go south. That is a little bit of an inciting incident that has happened for a broader look at what is going on with Marvel in the gaming space, because Marvel's Avengers has finally found a little bit of success. Because if you effectively give it away for free to between 20 and 30 million people, a few of them, well, might actually play it. So, to talk about this, the whole thing is Marvel's Avengers has came onto Game Pass. It has had a bit of a surge, and they've responded to that in a way that is going back on their word. Now, this whole new era of Marvel games is a bit weird. The Avengers one, it felt like it had a lot of pomp and circumstance. It felt like it was, in some ways, surprisingly good for what it was, but also in a lot of other ways, well, was just lacking a lot for people. Did not do that well at launch whatsoever, other than an initial strong sales spike. And all of this is a bit funny because, of course, in the past there was loads of Marvel games, a lot under Activision. You know, loads and loads and loads of them. But then, it's kind of funny because as the movies and stuff got really, really big, it was never really capitalized on in the gaming space. Which, of course, is something they tried to do with Marvel's Avengers, a game that I suppose was capitalizing on the modern popularity of that franchise, but with a bizarre B-team of sort of weird look-alike characters that had people confused at the start. Obviously, actor licenses are very expensive, so you can't really be doing that. Now, of course, this is a game that had a funny situation. It's the sort of thing where really a lot of us just considered it a write-off. I mean, Square Enix posted a $63 million loss in the fiscal period that this game was released in. It didn't make its budget back quite early from what we understood, but that said, its budget exceeded $100 million, so really, was it going to make its budget back quickly? I don't really think so. So basically, there was that. Now, Marvel are not giving up in games. We very much know that. There's been a lot of announcements. They're almost, in a way, trying to do the MCU thing again in the gaming space. But for the future of Marvel's Avengers, well, that's where it gets interesting, and where they have found some success and then managed to piss off their community again. So, comes out in Game Pass and things start to go a little bit better. But before that, there was the War for Wakanda expansion, which was their largest post-release update. And the 1-year anniversary had a little bit of momentum, and Game Pass helped quite a bit. Now, Game Pass is actually not the start of Crystal Dynamics and Microsoft working together, because Crystal Dynamics are actually supporting the initiative with Perfect Dark, which is Microsoft's, well, at the time, sort of quadruple A entry. We'll see what that means soon. Basically, this is a situation where Crystal Dynamics are kind of good at that sort of thing. Microsoft, I think, knew that they could avail of that if they really needed to. And that it ended up being a natural enough collab, and that basically scaling up the initiative during COVID would be extremely challenging. So that's why that ended up happening. So that'll be interesting. That said, if you think about the Avengers, I think we can all agree that it's almost a perfect Game Pass revival game when you think about the sorts of things that have done well on Game Pass. Especially because Game Pass does include all of the post-launch content. So you're basically getting the most robust version of it for free. Not literally for free, but I know I'm on Game Pass anyway, so it may as well be free for me. So Avengers was in the top 10 most popular games on Game Pass and has risen to the top 15 most played on Xbox in the US since being added to Game Pass last week. That was a tweet from Benji as of October 5th. Also, Spider-Man finally launches this year as well, so, the Xbox people aren't missing out because of the 1-year exclusivity on that character. And then it happened. So, you may have remembered that they rebalanced the XP and were accused of making the game a whole lot more grindy. Now, people said, well, they've done that, but they're saying it's a rebalancing, and it's not like they're selling XP boosts, are they? At the time, that was correct. That is no longer correct, because, of course, it has to happen some way, doesn't it? So, they are selling boosts in the game's marketplace. These are being sold as time savers to, I think, appeal to the suite of new Game Pass players that have found this game. And this is a kind of galling thing because, as Adam has noted here in our doc, they recently nerfed XP gains in general. And now they said they were doing this pending an overall rework to the Avengers' overall progression system. Well, that's not due out till late this year, so right now they have made it grindy, they've put it in the hands of way more players, and now they are selling progression boosts. So they're making that move to free-to-play feeling in terms of their monetization. Of course, not that that would apply to Ubisoft, who have been doing this in their premium AAA games for quite a while now. So people were pretty hard on this when it happened in Assassin's Creed. They were right to be, because here it is happening again. And it's just as simple as that. And the thing is, they repeatedly promised that the real-world purchases in the Avengers would be cosmetic only. False. And this keeps on happening where people go, and it's false. I hope New World sticks to its promises, because, its store is, I think, ignorable. Which, is good. I'm happy about that. But how long until they do something? And especially in a game like New World, you're playing with fire if you add any form of time saver, given the underpinnings of that game's economy. So, basically, the situation with this game is characters are good, the enemies and missions are not so good. It's got more content now, it is the best it's ever been, it's got a big boost of audience now, but why did they have to go and take their win and then go back in their word? Obvious, money.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that really irks me about it, is that they have the capacity to make this into some form of success. Maybe it's a long-term success, maybe it's a long-burn success, maybe it's not, the most, the greatest in terms of monetization, but they had a way to, actually make the game do right by consumers, do right by people who bought it initially, and people who want to play it on Game Pass, and they just seem to keep kind of blindly going down the same path, and just not understanding what's going on. But I imagine, I know Square Enix's Western division hasn't been run all that well, so I wonder if it is literally just someone at the top going, gonna have to make that budget back sooner rather than later. I'm sure whatever they were paid for Game Pass maybe helped out on that front, and it's nice that it helped on both sides, but it's just the idea of, why are you being greedy with this? You can be greedy from a spot of victory. That it will undermine your victory to a degree, but you're supposed to capture your audience really deeply and then monetize them. You're not supposed to go, oh, we've got the hint of an audience, we've got the hint of a game that people are enjoying. Oh, quick, before they run away again when they realize how drab and empty our game is of actual live service content and live service stuff. It's like, the game is not, it's a massive shame, especially basically wasting the time of all the people who made the great combat in the game to go, sorry, it's full of live service shit.
Yeah.
It's a real shame.
Now, that said, there could be a bit more hope for Marvel in gaming, because there are non-live service games coming out. A great example is Guardians of the Galaxy, which initially was a bit of skepticism to, but some of those previews came out, and those previews did actually go down pretty well with people, from everything I read. The gameplay actually looks pretty decent.
Yep, that's
maybe even quite or very good.
Yeah, that's exactly, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I see what you've done here. You've learned the lesson of Avengers, and then just got another one of your teams to make the game properly this time, where, Guardians is not multiplayer. It's not a big live service thing. It's just, here's a game, basically. They may have plans to live serviceify it a little bit, but it's just the kind of thing of, we're making a single-player narrative-focused game with characters that we've written, based on characters that, our people know about, at least by name. We're taking our own little spin on it, and they're being really upfront, and it seems to be going well. And just like I was saying about the combat and Avengers being good, it's a different team and different combat designer, but at least according to IGN and from what I've seen watching the previews of it from a good while ago now, but it actually looked great. It looked grand. It looks fine. It looks like they've actually made what they wanted and made what people might like. Not that everyone in the world's going to everyone who watched the Avengers is going to run out and buy this game, because that's not what it is, but it's going to be a game that's like, okay, we've taken the Marvel DNA, we've taken, single-player narrative stuff, we have something good.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that, Eidos Montreal can see this and be able to do this, but over at Crystal Dynamics, they're stuck on the same Avengers train of, we have to make this live service content, train work somehow, as opposed to going, just cut all that shit as much as possible, fire people down the part of the game that people actually liked, which was the single player story.
Yeah. Like,
So-
if I think about this, I'm not a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
I am not a Star Wars guy. Jedi Fallen Order is a really good video game. And it's simple, and it uses its IP well in a way that elevates it. I bought that. I'm interested in that. It's a great game. You're telling me there's good combat system in the Avengers. Well, I don't give a shit because it's just live service trash.
Yeah.
Looking at this Guardians of the Galaxy game, I mean, I am completely ambivalent towards like that side of the IP or whatever. I just don't care. It's out of my cultural experience. But you're saying that this is a good game by a good developer that's not compromised by live service bullshit? Like if this can be a fun action combat game that is just simple, knows its place, and executes that fantastically in the same way that Jedi Fallen Order did, then that's a game I can pick up. Because I would really have to be a Marvel fan to, really deep, to have to go through all of the live service crap to enjoy the combat in the Avengers. But if you're just telling me this is a good video game that happens to be the theme, then I'm interested. And then maybe I'll get the next one. And then maybe eventually I'd actually be a bit more interested in the franchise overall. And I think that's what the MCU was able to do to people very successfully.
Yeah.
And, in the silver screen. Things like this. This is what can do it in video games. Not instantly going out with a, hey, we deserve tremendous success. Here's our big live service bet.
Yeah, it's that thing I think of. IP as a crutch is a big problem that I was, I'm terribly afraid of it all the time, where it is just IP as a crutch. But then you look at Marvel's Avengers was the worst case of that, where if that game released and it was, wasn't Marvel's Avengers, it would likely fall into the same category as Godfall, where maybe some people like it, but most people look at it and go, wait, why would I play that? What's going on? Who gives a shit? But obviously it's talked about because it's Marvel's Avengers and because it has a decent enough, single player story mode.
Yeah.
But it's just IP as a crutch was misused so badly by Avengers. But it looks like they're ignoring that element for Guardians of the Galaxy and going, no, IP is what it should be in terms of games, which is a sticker on the box that might make more people play it. If it's a good game, then all the better.
Yeah.
And then that's, when we get into the next things they're doing, I think they may actually learn how to use it as a sort of not just crutch, but how to make it additive.
This is where it's getting good. So there's Marvel Midnight Suns, which is the Firaxis game. So that's the XCOM people. And again, I like XCOM. I'm indifferent about Marvel, but if they do a great game, then I'll play this Marvel game. And if I've enjoyed Midnight Suns and then maybe also enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy, now I'm interested in what the next one is. And another thing that's picked up as well is, Take-Two are the owners of Firaxis. So there's Take-Two, Sony with Insomniac, and Square Enix, just showing that Disney are really now leveraging the shuttering of their own internal games division and just working with external stakeholders on their own IP. I think we don't need to cover this as much because, look, Insomniac, we all know about these, but of course there's Wolverine, there's the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That is just, again, showing that just the top-class Insomniac content is also stuff that we will be getting from them. That's more great sort of single-player, very experience-first, not live service crap Marvel games. That's really good. Now, to go on to the live service, there is a Future Revolution. It is a mobile game, so it does come with the trappings of a mobile game. From what I understand, it is, not really the sort of thing we'll sort of care about as much, not really being sort of phone gamers, but it is quite a lot to stuff onto a phone, I suppose, and it seems like they've done pretty well. And for the business side, what had been picked up on, just by the guys in there researching, is Bill Roseman, who, what's he called? The Marvel movies man who sort of helped orchestrate the whole MCU.
Kevin?
Yeah,
Feige, is that him?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's almost like this guy is their version of that for games, where he's the vice president and creative director of Marvel Games. And, I wield my mighty nerd brain to help our collaborators make the best generation of Marvel games for players around the world. I think Avengers really messed up with that. But when I look at all of this other IP, even as a jaded cynic who's not a big fan of Marvel stuff, I can see a really good strategy.
Absolutely. They might use IP correctly.
Yeah, so, if it means good games for us, then fair play, Bill, and good luck. With that said, let us know what you think. Would you be willing to check this stuff out? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.